am Samantha Mowat. I'm a clairvoyant psychic and a contactee, and I want to talk to you about something really, really cool. So, when it comes to energy and psychic abilities, there's a couple things I want you to understand. The most common type of psychic ability is called being an empath or a clairsentient. Now, the difference between empath and clairsentience is actually kind of minor in as far as like the psychic ability spectrum is concerned. A clairsentient and an empath have a lot of things in common. The most common of which being their strongest psychic sense is the ability to feel vibration and energy in the way that it moves and the way that it interacts with others and the world around them. But the difference between a clairsentient versus an empath is an empath feels everything a clairsentient does, but to a much more vulnerable and extreme amount. Whereas an empath can read the energy, sense the energy without being as overwhelmed by it. So I want to talk to you about some of what that means. Okay, so when you're looking at the empathic and clairsentient traits, there's a few things you want to take into consideration. And just for the sake of this video, I'm going to say empath only instead of going back and forth. Just makes it a little bit easier. So an empath can walk into a room and they will sense the subtle differences of vibration within the space. So what that means is, let's say that I'm an empath. I walk into a room and I'm walking up to two people and I can feel that those two people are just in a heated conversation. They may be dropping their conversation when I come near them to join them for lunch, but I can feel within my gut, within my body, within their energy that they were just talking about something really intense and really overwhelming. And that's totally normal for empaths to notice. It's also very normal for an empath to walk into a crowded room, for instance, say a school or an office, and when they walk in there, they'll notice all the vibrations of the different people around them. So when the empath was by themselves, they'd be very grounded, very centered, be just their energetic body, especially if it's the beginning of the day. Whereas when they go into this room with all these vibrations from other people, they'll start to recognize a few things. They're like, huh, that person over there is really nice. I like their energy. They feel calm and happy. And this person over here, they feel like they're feeling a little bit under the weather. They look like they're completely normal and absorbed in their work, but I can feel that they're actually feeling kind of like tired and burnt out and drained. Whereas that person over there, I don't necessarily feel like I can trust them. I got a pull back feeling, this feeling of like my aura wrapping around my body. It feels intense and really uncomfortable for me, and I don't like it when they're nearby. And so you'll start to have like these sensations within your body of your energy expanding or contracting based upon who you're encountering. And you really need to pay attention to those feelings because it gives you clues about someone's intentions towards you, their vibration, their understanding. And you also want to look at some of the other traits that go with being an empath. An empath can be by themselves, and while they're there and they're doing their work and they're just kind of on their own, they might suddenly notice that they have like this sudden tingle going over them. And it could be because one of their angels and spirit guides just came into their space, or a deceased person came nearby and walked through the room. So that's very common for empaths to notice that too. An empath can also sense the emotions, the anxieties within others and absorb them as their own and start to live out their day-to-day life as though the other person's emotional energy, their thoughts, their perceptions, their way of being is actually the empath's. And that's what's very important for an empath to clear. An empath can also go through things where they're feeling the energy around them. As they're feeling it, they start to notice that at the beginning of the day, they're this beautiful, clear vessel. They know what they want and where they're going, and they feel very centered and grounded. Whereas as the day progresses and they drive to work and then they go do their work, then they go over to the grocery store, and then they eventually go home and they're feeling like, oh my goodness, there's so many emotions and energies around me. And I don't know, do I want to have Chinese food for dinner, or do I want to have salad for dinner, or do I want to have a soup for dinner? And they have these conflicting energies all rotating throughout their energetic system, which makes it very difficult for them to stay centered and grounded. And so what I'm trying to have you understand with all of this on the empathic scale is an empath is someone who is very sensitive to the vibrations of others, in particular when it comes to things like the vibrational frequencies. Even when they walk into a space, an empath will often notice, even when they walk into a home, whether that home has good calming energy or disruptive energy. They may notice something horrific has happened there, like sexual abuse or a murder or abuse of any mental kind as well. It's very common for empaths to notice. They'll feel the vibrations of the emotions that have been dumped within that space. which I find to be quite incredible. The other thing that an empath will notice is they're very good because they have a natural built-in barometer to tell when people are lying to them. Because they'll start, like for instance, let's say you and I were talking, and let's say that you were lying to me about something, I would feel this heaviness, this sinking sensation in my gut, this feeling of something not quite being right about what you're saying to me. And it would be like this push down sensation, this pull back feeling where it didn't quite feel right. And empaths are pretty magical that way. They may not know exactly what you're lying about, but they'll know something that you're saying is not resonating. So, how amazing is that? One other thing that I want to talk about is an empath is typically very well received by animals, small children. They'll really like the energy of the empath because the empath naturally has a sympathetic vibration to what is around them. And so they tend to be very good at communicating with animals and children, but they also tend to be very diplomatic. For instance, if an empath is in conversation with a few different people. Let's say they're talking to two people who are in an argument, and the empath goes with person number one to go talk about what happened to try to resolve the conflict. They will begin to take on the perspective and understanding of the first person when they're talking to them. And then when they stop discussing the problem with person number one and they go over and see person number two, they will take on person number two's perspective and understanding because they're absorbing the energetic frequency being emitted by each person and seeing things from their perspective, which I think is pretty incredible. And that's why it's very important when you are an empath to recognize what your center is, to get in that place of being grounded, connected into yourself, and helping you to stay more focused on your own vibratory understanding. It's very important for an empath to ground their energy, to clear their energy. That way they can stay more focused on what it is they truly believe rather than just absorbing the emotions of others. But I just wanted to make this a short little video. I hope that helps you understand empathic capabilities. I wish you peace and light. Bye.